before we start, I'd like to get a sense of how are you able to listen to me? How is the voice getting to you? So please, if the sound is not clear enough, let me know by chatting in the pod area, if you don't mind, just so I'll make sure everyone can hear me well. Okay. All right. So I'm assuming everyone can hear me. Just for whatever reasons later on, technical reasons or whatever, you will have some difficulties. Please let us know by typing in the chat pod area to let us know that the sound is not getting to you. Okay. Certificate in Event Management webinar is the title of today's webinar from Meirc. Once again, welcome everyone. The modules that we are going to tackle today are, we're going to talk about some of the foundations of event management, defining what is an event, why are events organized, the importance of events, and we need also to tackle the theme of the event. What is the definition? What do we mean by the event theme? And how do we get to decide on the event theme? How to create that? Okay. The second section or second modules we're going to tackle today are some of the steps of planning an event. So the steps of event planning. It's a process, of course, as we all know. It includes, first of all, deciding on the vision, of course, on the theme of the event, conducting a SWOT analysis. We talk, for those of you who are not too familiar with the SWOT analysis, what it is, setting goals and objectives, but not any goals and objectives. Of course, we're always talking about SMART objectives and SMART goals. Also, one of the steps is to determine the event's feasibility. Is it feasible to run with this event? Of course, based on many factors. We will tackle those too. Choosing an appropriate organizational structure. Deciding and talking the 5 W's, creating a plan for our event, and of course, the last but not least step is evaluating the event. Okay, so starting, and please at any point, if you have any questions, of course, we should take maybe about 45 minutes time for this webinar, and then I will allow the last 10 or 15 minutes after that 40 or 45 minutes for any questions that you may have. So please type them, and I'll try to answer them. Whenever I get the time to answer the questions towards the end. All right. So when we talk about the definition of an event, it is a process, as we all know. It is not a simple process. It's a highly complex process because it involves many types of skills. Definitely creative skills. When you're involved in an event, planning, managing an event, of course, a lot of creativity should be involved in there. Definitely project management skills, managing the steps, the objectives to be able to reach the goal. Leadership skills also are involved, and any kind of skills related to logistics management. As you know, in the event, there are a lot of logistics, things that sometimes you don't even realize they should be involved, and they're included in your event, which are related mainly to logistics, and also skills needed for an event planning and management should be related to management of technical issues, stage equipment, I don't know, sound, electricity, audio, video, and so on and so forth. All right, so it is a highly complex process, including all the skills that I've mentioned. By definition, when we talk about an event, and in this quote unquote definition, there are many keywords. Okay, so it is a consciously planned and conducted or organized presentation or activity aimed at achieving specific objectives. So some of the keywords here, the first one is consciously. It doesn't happen just out of nowhere. Okay, so we need to be conscious about what we are going to plan for this event. Of course, we will talk more about the theme. That should be one of the first steps in there, and organized presentation. So you have the planning, you have the organization. Once it is implemented, that will be the leading part, and then of course towards the end, to achieving specific objectives. And how do we know whether we achieved those objectives? Of course, it will be by evaluating. So from this definition of an event, it brings back, it rings a bell in our minds about the four main principles of management in general, which are the POLC, the POLC. Of course, starting with planning, and the next step in any kind of management we are involved in. The first step is planning. Second is organizing, the O. The L is for leading, directing, implementing, if you want. And then, of course, last but not least, the controlling. And controlling in the sense of monitoring, of assessing, of evaluating, not controlling as far as, being a boss or being, a big deal over the event all by itself. So this is what we gather from that definition, that the four principles of management should be involved in any kind of event management. Okay, when we talk about events, why do we run events? Why are we managing events? Why are we involved in any kind of events? And by the way, events could be major deal. I mean, examples: FIFA is an event. The Hajj coming up now, next week. This is a major event. But they're all based on the POLC, planning, organizing, leading, and control. Some of the reasons we run events, maybe to provide entertainment to people, the masses. It could be some kind of a social interaction among internal audience, which is our employees in our organizations. It could be for internal and external, or it could be external only. And it could also be a means to spreading information. Okay, when you want to send launch anything, any product, anything, usually, and a lot of examples nowadays they do it. For example, Apple, when they are going to launch the new iPhone or any of their new products, they'll do it, as a big event. So this is why the importance, if you want, of events. They can be an opportunity for a money maker, profit. There could be an opportunity also. They can provide an opportunity for flow of goods, services, money in the society. They can also create a positive atmosphere in whichever society, contributing to the goodwill. It gives some sense of a good positive feelings, amongst the participants, amongst those who are involved, either delivering or managing or implementing the event, or those who are receiving the benefits from this event. Okay, as we said in the introduction, we will be talking about the theme of an event. Every single event you run must have a theme. This is the first and foremost step when any organizer of any plans, they have to have a theme related or linked to the event. Now, in order for us to create an event, we should think first about the theme. The event theme, by definition or just by description, is a unifying idea that is a recurrent element in all the tasks, in all of the activities related to that particular event. Meaning, the brochure, they need to be linked to the theme, whether by colors or whether by shape. The brochure is one example. The decoration inside, the colors we're using, the slogan, all of those should be, in any event, they should be related to the theme of the event. Now, a theme, this is why we said we need creative skills at the beginning, because it is deciding on that is a very important step, because it helps the theme, the event theme, helps to express and convey the unique qualities of the event, which should be related to the unique quality of the culture or the region or the country that this event is related to or is being conducted in. Moreover, a unique theme for our event is applied to all aspects, as we said, from the creativity phase to the planning phase, whatever elements are involved in the planning, how original, how authentic this theme of the event will give it a boost for the event to be attractive, to motivate people to come and then be to participate in this event. It also helps the event to be different from other. The trademark of the event, if we think deeply about the theme of the event, it will make a big difference in making this event unique and a different mark from other events. Now, the steps that we need to take into consideration or do. We have a few steps that we need to think of. First of all, when we talk about the event theme and creating an event theme, coming up with an event theme, first of all, we need to ascertain the main and primary reason, purpose of organizing the event. Why? The why. Why are we organizing this event? Okay, so when we have the why, then next step, we should be able to identify and determine who should be the people, the participants involved, who is otherwise known as the target audience. Okay, and identify and determine the best possible time to stage the event. So if you notice here, we're starting to answer the 5 W's. Okay, so why? What is the main reason? Who is the target audience? What is the best time to stage the event? Okay, and we need to take into consideration when we are thinking about when to stage it, any other events, similar events, or not even similar, but big major events, they can, overcome our event are going on at the same time. Fourth step number 4, we need to identify and determine the best possible venue. So this is the 4th W. Where should we run this event? And step number 5 is to think of all possible concepts, all possible themes that could work, that could fit this event. And of course we need to do this by doing a brainstorming session. And then once we have all possible themes, the step number 6 to create a theme is to drill down, focus, and then come down to one final concept or theme for the event. Once we decided on one, and the more options of event themes we have, the better it is, of course. And then once we decide, we drill down and came down with one final theme, we develop and we put down some of the details about this theme itself. Of course, it's all written down. Now, we need this theme or this concept for our event to, when people leave our event, they have to go like, wow. So the wow effect, when we talk about event, it should be there. Otherwise, it'll be like all the rest of the events. People won't be motivated to go there. People won't have the incentive to go there. It has to be unique. It has to be different to catch that wow effect from the people. Of course, it's also very important that we need to think about the step to be able to identify the stakeholders in the event. Of course, we know by definition a stakeholder is any person, anyone, any entity that tend to be affected by the outcome of the results of an organization. And that could be affected positively or negatively by the outcome of the organization. So stakeholder for any given organization, it could be the banks, it could be ministries, it could be government affair. So, each one of our organizations, of course, have different kind of stakeholders. And once we decided on the theme, we know we targeted, we identified who are our stakeholders. This is when we start trying to involve those stakeholders in helping us in planning the event so we can get their commitment. Stakeholders also, keep in mind, they could be sponsors. Okay, they can be sponsoring our event and helping us financially. So this is as far as the event theme. Where can we apply the event theme? Where can we use them? Anywhere, from the invitations to the brochures, the event posters, any kind of advertisements that we may do, any kind of promotion that we need to do, the design of the stage, the staff uniforms. Let's say if the theme is about, I don't know, road safety, or if it is about being involved in the new artificial intelligence, so any kind of side decorations could also be linked and related to the theme. Okay. I hope everything is clear so far. I don't know if anyone would have any questions. We could pause for a few minutes, and if you have any questions to whatever information we talked about so far, before we move to the next section or module number 2, which is the steps of the event planning process. Okay. I don't see anyone typing on chat, so I think we are good to go. All right, so now we talked about the definition of an event. What are some of the steps related to trying to find or identify our theme? Hopefully we'll have a lot of options, a lot of creativity. And now we need to start by, starting the planning process. All right, we go back to the 4 principles of management: POLC, planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. When we talk about event action plan, by definition, it is a management tool that is live, that is dynamic, that could change any minute, that could change any hour, you know, depending on how long or the length of time of our event. So it is a tool that details any key project milestones, any activities against a timeline. It could be a bit related to a Gantt chart, okay, or similar to a Gantt chart. Now, this is, we talk about the event action plan. When we talk about the business plan, on the other hand, it is a longer term. It is not dynamic. I mean, it shouldn't be dynamic. It is more strategic, long-term vision, which outlines the event objectives, that states the business case. This business plan will state the business case, any financial projections, any information, but that should be over a long given time period. Usually business plan, we talk about 5 years. It could be 10 years. It could be, you know, vision for some countries. We have Vision 2030 for Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia. Okay, but this is the difference, if you want, between the event action plan is more nowadays, now what's going on, it's more dynamic, whereas the business plan is more long-term strategic. Usually an action plan will appear in the body of a business plan. Okay, so now when we talk about a planning or event action plan, to put something like this together, it shouldn't be too complicated. Usually it's a straightforward task. Usually it involves listing some of the key activities against a timeline. Once again, if you want to equate it, or make it similar to a Gantt chart, okay? It is an event action plan, and we list those activities against a timeline, and we also list who is going to be responsible for delivering each of those tasks or each of those key activities. Okay, what is the importance of an event action plan? It allows us as event managers to ensure that we have enough time to complete all necessary tasks. Yani, in another way, in other words, to be able to manage our time better. Also, it could be used for financial management. So we know what is the budget that we still have to work with. Some of the key activities when we talk about event action plan. Okay, first of all, we need to write a business plan in the long run, long term. And as we said, the event action plan or EAP should be a part of the body of this business plan. So writing and or updating the business plan, that's the first key activity we need to do. Second, identifying the event partners, sponsors, supporters. Then, in case we need to have any licenses, any permissions to do this event from government or from private entities, or okay, we need to get all of those permissions and licenses. Try to start doing the recruiting, and of course, with every recruiting activity, training should be involved in there. And fundraising activity, start to look for sponsors, start to look for people who will donate money or will do some activities to raise some money for our event. And any type of legal insurance issues, we need to take this into consideration. So of course, it depends on how big, how extensive, how complicated is our event. If it's a small event for our internal audience, which is our employees, that we do once every 2-3 months, of course, legal and insurance issues shouldn't be involved and we shouldn't worry about it. But here we're talking about something more in depth and more complicated. We're talking about big international events. Okay, and this is why, depending on the size, how complex is our event, any of those key activities that we talked about should be involved in there. Okay, so the more complicated and more complex the event is, of course, the more complicated and more complex the event action plan will be. Some of the steps that we need to take for the event planning process. And when we say process, that means it is systematic, steps after steps. We cannot skip one and move to the next step before it is done. Step one, we need to decide on the theme, as we said. Yani, in another way, we need to decide on the vision of the event. Okay, we can identify the purpose of the event by doing a brainstorming sessions, and then, you know, as a team, and then we will decide what would the theme of the event be. So this is one of the first steps. Second, very important, we need to conduct a SWOT analysis. Usually in my seminars and my sessions, training sessions, when we talk about event management, when SWOT analysis is involved, I always think of you know, the government of Dubai, the ruler of Dubai, back in the early 2000, 2002, 2003, sitting a team of his advisors and telling them, listen guys, we are thinking about bringing the World Exposition to Dubai in 2020. What do you think? So of course, what they should do a SWOT analysis. And as we know, SWOT analysis is the SWOT, where the S stands for strength, any strong points that we have in our organization, in our country, in, you know, in our planning, and the W stands for weaknesses. Also, we need to find out what are our weaknesses. Third is the O for opportunities. What can we get? How can we benefit? How can we use those or utilize these opportunities that we may have? And the fourth item is the T in SWOT, and this is it stands for threats. Okay, usually people will look at it vertically, and they say SW are internal factors. Absolutely true. Internal meaning we control them, whereas O and T, opportunities and threats, are external. Also true. But I also would like to look at it from a vertical, not just a horizontal point of view. Looking at it vertically, you have a left and the right. The S and O will be on the left, and the W and T will be on the right. The left is positive, and the left is positive, and the right side are the negative aspect. So do spend your time on a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis must be honest. A SWOT analysis must be transparent, so we get accurate information. The strength, as we said, these are any kind of characteristics that a business or an organization or a team will work to their advantage. Usually when we talk about S and W, and also some misunderstanding or mistakes occur here when we are doing the SWOT analysis, and I would like you to be aware of this. The mistake or the confusion will happen between what is an S and what is an O, or what is a W, weakness, and what is a T, a threat. When we talk about strength and weaknesses, those must be tangible attributes, something that we can feel, something that will for sure affect us negatively or positively. Whereas opportunity or a threat is something out there. It may affect us, it may not. It may happen or it may not. So please always pay attention to those. So these are characteristics of our business, of our team, of our government, of our organization that will be an advantage for our plan. Okay, examples: financial resources, the brand name, good brand name, good supply chain distribution, employee commitment and involvement, and so on and so forth. Okay, now we move to the weaknesses. Also, these are tangible characteristics that may place the organization at a disadvantage. Weak points. Also, we need to take care of that. Some of the examples: higher production costs, poor marketing skills, weak or no leadership, understaffed. All of that could be also considered as weaknesses. As far as the opportunities, these are factors, as we said, they're not tangible. They are there. If we use them to our advantages, that will also be positive. They will become a strength and positive. Okay? These are any conditions. They're not characteristics, tangible characteristics, but those are conditions that, in case we know how to use them, will benefit the organization either in the short or the long term. Some of the examples of opportunities, I don't know, a rapid market growth, an economic boom, the case of Dubai in the early 2000s up until the year of 2008, a weak competition. That could be an opportunity for us to take advantage of that to our advantage. Okay, the fourth part of the SWOT analysis is the T, threats. These are also external, but these are external factors. They're not under our control, but also they may occur or they may not occur. Okay, you'll tell me, yeah, if I want to run an event in May, the weather could be, is it a weakness? No, it's not a weakness. It's a threat. Okay, that means it may happen or it may not happen. Some examples: a new competitor, they may affect us, or then again, they may not. But we need to pay attention to that. A decline in any product life cycle, also we need to pay attention. If it keeps on declining, then we will have a problem and the threats will become a weakness. Step number 3, when we are talking about the planning an event or the process of planning an event, is to set goals and objectives. And of course, when we talk about goals and objectives, we are talking about SMART goals and objectives. Okay? And SMART by SMART, I'm sure you're all familiar with, so I'll go real fast on that. And the S stands for specific, M, measurable, A, achievable, R, I like to use relevant. Some people may opt to use realistic, but to me, when I say something is achievable, it means it is realistic, and vice versa. So I'd like to use relevant, and of course, last but not least, timely bound, or it is related to a deadline. Okay, so it has to be specific. I cannot just set an objective that's out there without being too specific. Can I measure it? How can I measure it? Usually the measurable part is you have a number, you have a percentage, increase, decrease. Achievable. Please do not set any goals for your team that are impossible. Why? Because that will you will run into problems and issues. They will be demotivated. Okay, challenging. It needs to be challenging, but definitely not impossible. And then relevancy. The relevancy factor here. Your objective must be related, must be linked, must have a relationship and relevant to the main goal. If I may, in between parentheses, say here, because of the translation from English to Arabic, for us, and this is a lot of confusion here, we have a lot of pairs of words, I call them. Okay, data, information, they're not the same, of course, but we use them most of the time as the same. Goal, objective, of course, they're not the same. If the translation into Arabic, they may be the same, but goal is something long-term. In the business plan, it is parallel with vision, and objective would be or should be parallel with mission. So this is what we need to do as far as the setting the objectives. Your goals should be ambitious, challenging, but also achievable. Otherwise, you will get demotivation. Always make a list of your goals. Make sure that any goal that you set with your team, hopefully it will be with your team, those goals are clear to your team. Because if the goal / objectives is not clear to your team, trust me, you will not get any involvement, you will not get any commitment. And of course, where there is no commitment, there is no responsibility, and therefore they won't be accountable to whatever you set them to do. Okay? You need to be flexible when planning your goals, especially short-term goals. Okay? And then, as the statement goes, if you can see it, you can do it. So here we go. You need to start visualize your goals. So this is when we talk about the step 3, set goals and objectives that are SMART. Step number 4, determine the event feasibility. Is it feasible to do this event? Can we afford it? Do we have, of course, the SWOT analysis will help you to decide how feasible is the event from many aspects, the financial aspect, the time calendar for you, okay? The human resources, if you have only 10 people and your event will need 50 people. If you don't have the budget to hire 40 more people, that means it is not feasible. Also, the feasibility should be also related to the ROI, return on investment. I think we will talk a bit more about it later on. Carefully measure and assess the market interest in the event. Is the market or the town or the country or your organization, are they interested in this event, or it's going to be just a loss for you, loss of time, loss of financial? Okay, consider various factors involved in staging an event. Many factors: the timing, the budgeting, the political and the security and the safety issues that may be going on in a certain country or a certain city. Also take into consideration competition, the timing. I mean, don't come up with an event that has to do with, I don't know, IT or AI when there is some major big global event going on at the same time in your town. No one is going to go to see your event. The media is not going to be interested in covering your event. All right? So a part of the feasibility that we need to look into, do we have enough lead time? Do we have the right facilities, the services, the market size? Is it too big for me or too small for me sometimes? Okay? Human resources, financial resources. Now, we need to move into the fifth step number 5, choosing an appropriate organizational structure. This is when we get into the organization part of the POLC. What committees should be involved? Of course, we always have the high committee, sometimes called the coordinator or the coordination committee. Usually high top management will be involved in there, and the high committee will have of course, many committees under or subcommittees. Each one is responsible: media, communication, budgeting or finance, HR, logistics, security, safety. All of those are subcommittees, and there should be a lot of communication, open lines of communication with everyone, from the high committee to all those who are involved. As we said, one of the steps should be creating an event management plan. Okay. Also going through the POLC. You should convert all of the objectives, the SMART objectives that we talked about. They need to be converted and set into your event management plan. This is a very important part. This is when you, once again, you set your goals, you organize, you lead, and then the evaluation part, which is the last part of any of your tasks, of any of your events, is to evaluate. Always, we also make, the confusion between assessment and evaluation. Assessment is the, the measuring part. You're assessing via an exam or a test or questionnaire or whatever. Whereas the evaluation is the judgmental part. This is when you say fail or pass, good, very good, A, B, C, D, 60, 70, 80. Okay, so this is when we get to the event evaluation. Usually we are determining whether our objectives that we set at the beginning, did they reach, did they meet, did they accomplish what we wanted them to accomplish? And how do we evaluate? Many ways to evaluate. Questionnaire, I don't know, interviews, the reaction. If you want to evaluate whether your event was well covered by the media, you read the newspapers in the morning, or the e-news. You see how many clicks you got on your site, you see how many comments, you see how many likes or dislikes. Okay, so evaluation, it depends on what we are, what kind of event and what kind of target audience we are involved in. Okay, what we evaluate, how successful, how strong the event was. Were there any gaps, any shortcomings? Okay, so lesson learned. In the future, we will be able to run any kind of improvement. All right, and also with the evaluation, we will be able to share the outcome and the results with our stakeholders. We get now to the 5 W's. I don't want to take a lot of your time. I said about 40 or 45 minutes. We're about 43 minutes, but the 5 W's, and we covered those earlier. Okay, as you know, the 5 W's are what, who, why, when, and where. Okay, you need to be able to answer the questions. You should very carefully consider some of the questions right before you get into your event. What is the purpose? Why are we doing this? Okay, does it have a theme? Who is the target audience? Because if we are able to identify the target audience, we are able to, that will help us to do the promotion. If the target audience are teenagers, of course, I'm not gonna do the promotion in regular conventional newspapers or the evening news. Of course, I'm gonna get into the Facebook, I'm gonna get into the social media. Also, it depends where is the location of my target audience. Okay, Saudi Arabia is number one, if I'm not mistaken, in Twitter and Instagram. Egypt is number one in Facebook use in the world we're talking. So this is how the target audience will help me to promote my event. So why are we organizing the event? Who do you want to attend the event? Who will be our target audience? When is the best time? During the tourism season, but it has advantages and disadvantages. Before or after the tourism, on a weekend or during the weekdays. But all of those will have advantages and disadvantages for that. So this is how we go through the 5 W's: the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why. And the last part of this, we go back to the SMART goals. It needs to be specific. It must be measurable. It has to be achievable. Don't make it impossible to your people and to yourself. And also, relevancy is very important. I cannot work on an objective that is definitely, absolutely not related to my main vision or main long-term goal. And of course, the last part of the SMART objective is the T. It should be time-based. It should be time-bound. Up until this point, this is what I wanted to cover and share with you. I really appreciate your being here, everyone, without naming names. We had a lot of people here. So please now, I will allow, a few minutes, as long as you need, up to 10-15 minutes for any questions, any discussions that you may have about the topic or the information that we discussed now, or any other topics related to either public relation in general or event management. Once again, I'd like to thank you, and I'll be here around for a few minutes, just waiting to see if you are typing any questions. Okay. Meanwhile, while we are waiting, let me wish everyone happy Eid. The Adha Eid is coming up, so I'd like to take it an opportunity to wish you a happy Eid, prosperity for next year, health and safety for everyone and your families. Okay. Those who are sending the notes to thank me, of course, you are most welcome. And please, at any point, any time, you'll have our address, meirc@meirc.com. Anything we could help you with, any advice we could give you, please do not hesitate to let us know. Okay. I think at this point, once again, I'll tell you thanks for your participation, and I hope to see you soon. You take care. Bye-bye. Meirc.com